We'll be back from the break. You're still watching Smart Means Business. We've got 2 minutes of the hour of 8 o'clock. And as we kick off this hour, we start with our business tip of the day, which comes in to at least give you something new to learn and try to at least implement in your business life. Right now, our business tip says every time you state what you want or believe, you're the first to hear it. So it's a message to both you and others about what you think is possible. So don't put a ceiling on don't put a ceiling on yourself. Remember, it's more like a mindset. What your mindset tells you is what you'll definitely be able to achieve. So do not put a ceiling on anything. Do not put a ceiling on what you think is possible. Remember, what you think is possible today is what will definitely be possible at the end of the day. So according to the business tip, do not at any one moment put yourself into a non-believing that things can be good or can be possible. That is what the business tip is saying this morning. Now let's have our motivation and inspiration through our business quotes as well. Now, Vince Lobandi says that winners never quit and quitters will never win. This has been more of something to do with how determined you are and how committed you are as an individual. Because if you ever want to see yourself get into what it means to win or to succeed in life, you'll get to realize that winners have never quit in any way. And of course, so that means if you want to be a winner, you're not supposed to quit. And if you want to be a loser, then you'll have to quit either way. But of course, you should never quit, just in case you have high hopes of achieving something bigger. Now, we switch our eyes to Kenya, where employers have been directed to implement the 2,160 shilling monthly NSSF deduction. The NSSF has asked all employers in Kenya to comply with the NSSF Act number 45 of 2013, which is set to increase monthly contribution from 200 Kenyan shillings to 2,160. This is after the Court of Appeal apparently ruled that the act is legal, allowing the government to move forward implementing it. Now, the question is here, how implementation of the NSSF Act in Kenya will affect workers and the employers here. Now, as we look through, the contributions were last reviewed in 2001 when the rate was increased to 200 shillings from then 160 shillings. That is Kenyan shillings. NSSF had 348,291 registered members as of June 2021. As of June 2021, with an investment portfolio of 284.9 billion shillings, it did beat the inflation last year when savings increased by 10%. Now, if we are to follow up more on how the implementation of this same matter will be, and this last review was in 2001, that's roughly 2 decades back. At the time, NSSF had increased money to 2,000. Rather from 160 Kenyan shillings to 200 shillings, that is to 200 Kenyan shillings of how much the Kenyan community were supposed to be rendering. Now, how implementation of the NSSF Act will be affecting the workers and employees is what we are definitely looking at in here in the situation to do with the Kenyan government and all that. So the appellate court bench comprising of Hannah Okwengu, Mohamed Wasame and John Mativo ruled that the employment court wrongly assumed jurisdiction in a matter that should have been handled by the High Court. Now the question is, how much will employees pay at the end of the day? So by the look of the things here, the NSSF Act as of 2013 increased salaried employees' monthly deductions from 200 shillings to 600 shillings for the lowest earner, and from 320 to 1,080 shillings for top earners. Now the upper limits the upper limits on contributions are set to rise every year according to what is happening in here regarding how much the employees will have to pay. This is according to the Kenyan perspective. And for matters to do with Section 18(1) of the NSSF Act 2013, which established the pension fund, a provident fund provides that all persons who are subject to the Employment Act of 2007 and are over 18 years must be members of the pension fund. Now, back to how will this law be implemented if we have to look at this? In the first year, the government capped 12% charge on half the national average monthly income, which was 34,476 shillings. This means that NSSF would recover a maximum of 4,136 monthly. And the top earners would pay half the charge at 2,068 Kenyan shillings, up from the current 200 shillings, while the low earners were to part with 360 or 12% of the minimum wage that had been set at 6,000 shillings under a graduated scale meant to alleviate poverty among senior citizens. Now, workers who are actually earning above 18,000 were to be divided in two levels of contributions called Tier 1 and Tier 2, with Tier 1 contributions set for those in respect of pensionable earnings up to the lower earnings limit of 6,000 Kenyan shillings. Now let's get it lastly here by looking at Tier 2. Now the Tier 2 contributions mean contributions in respect of the pensionable earnings above the lower earnings limit. And then those in, if you have to look at the issue to do with those in Tier 1 contributing to up to 720 per month, while those in Tier 2 were added up to 1,440. So workers already signed up for the occupational scheme have been offered relief, since they would pay 6% of the minimum wage, or 360 in the first year upon receiving approval from the Retirement Benefits Authority, according to the industry regulator. Now the amount will increase to 540 Kenyan shillings in the 5th year, in a balancement to caution company sponsored schemes, as well as at least from the collapse, since it was feared that most employers would discontinue occupation schemes and opt for the statutory fund at the end of the day. Now, someone asks who challenged, or where do we come in here? The law was first challenged, the NSSF Act of 2013 was first challenged by the Kenya Tea Growers Association and the Agricultural Employers Association before they were joined by the Federation of Kenya Employers and the Kenya County Government Workers Unions and others. So by the look of things, most of them were actually challenging it, saying it would be unfair to the low-income earners, because if we're all, for example, in a situation whereby currently they are supposed to be remitting from 200 Kenyan shillings, now they are to remit 2,000 Kenyan shillings of their monthly income, then that means the low-income earner may be affected greatly, and the one who's earning highly may earn a little bit more, or may actually be affected less in one way. It is 2,160 Kenyan shillings now in the new act, according to what NSSF has tasked the employers to do. And at the end of the day, the deductions will be applied in different categories according to the NSSF Kenya Act. The upper earning limit is for employees who earn 18,000 Kenyan shillings and above, while the lower earning limit is for those who earn below 6,000 Kenyan shillings. So when you look at the issue here, the pension contribution will be 12% of the pensionable wages, made up of two equal portions of 6% from the employee and the 6% from the employer, subject to an upper limit of 2,160 for employees earning above. Now, let's get this done again. For the employees who are actually earning above 18,000 Kenyan shillings, sorry. For employees earning above 18,000 Kenyan shillings, will have to will actually remit 2,160 Kenyan shillings to the NSSF Kenya. And then the employees earning between 3,000 and 6,000 Kenyan shillings will pay contributions in the Tier 1 category only. And then further, these employees whose earnings are between 6,000 and 18 will pay contributions in the Tier 2 category only. So the amount of their monthly deduction for those earning between 3,000 to 6,000 Kenyan shillings will be 360 Kenyan shillings, not the same as those who are earning above 18,000 Kenyan shillings. And so as you can see, earlier on this week among the social media trends, you get to realize some of the Kenyans were actually throwing tantrums towards the government of President William Ruto's administration regarding the same matter of NSSF, saying that it does seem to be unfair. But of course, as you can see, Kenya's economy has not been, has actually been struggling in the last few months. And of course, across the sub-Saharan index of the top 5 performing economies, it is likely that by the end of this year, its third position will be displaced by Ethiopia and the likes of Angola, who are coming up highly with very huge economic performance in that same space of the economic performance in the country. Well, that is it for the issue to do with NSSF Kenya and the NSSF Act. As now we turn our eyes to the National Environmental Management Authority back at home in the country. While addressing a press conference at the Uganda Media Center, the National Environmental Management Authority Executive Director, Mr. Barega Kankwasa, said the authority will work with the traffic police to ensure quite a number of regulations, one of which includes those driving without environmental regulations. Now, with effect from 1st of April, motorists will be arrested and expressly fined 6 million shillings when caught driving a car without a dustbin in it. While during the same press conference, you get to realize that the authority will work with the traffic officer, with the traffic police, to ensure the guideline for the vehicles. But with these particular guidelines, you get to realize that not everyone wants to buy the idea. Some Ugandans on social media were actually saying, well, if, for example, one of the most highlighted amongst the key issues here was that everyone who will be found without a dustbin or a trash can in their vehicles will have to pay a fine of 6 million. This is a measure to at least control environmental pollution or degradation and damage. Well, some of the other people on social media are asking questions like, why does the NEMA also step up with the same cause when it comes to people who actually evade and damage the wetlands? And in this particular update we are getting this particular morning, we head to Parliament to see what some of the legislators have to say in regards to this particular issue to do with the NEMA guidelines. And we do have Honorable Tony Ayo, who is a Member of Parliament, Kwanya County, having his view on what NEMA should do and what ways can we safeguard our environment today.
It has been long overdue that even when we had passed laws authorizing NEMA to take actions in ensuring that our environment is protected, we see that not all and much is done. And we have been waiting for that. But the regulations that NEMA has sent out, which provides for penalties on some offenses, that includes cash payment and imprisonment, I think that is welcome, because you need both of them, so that a person is given the option, if you have fallen short of the rules, the regulation and the law, then you can be asked to pay, so that the money you have paid can be used to fix the damage you have caused on the environment. And if you don't have the money, then you can be sent to prison, so that you take lessons and learn, so that when you get out, you can always recall and protect environment. That is the standard globally. But now on some of the regulations, like you must now move with a dustbin in your car. And if you found to have littered the road, the streets, by throwing things through your window, then the fine is 6 million. And I think it is supposed to be what is workable. Now, when you give a fine of 6 million for littering the road environment to somebody whose salary is 300,000, 400,000, 800,000, including, by the way, a member of parliament, because a fine of 6 million, then you take the whole member of parliament with the all easy pay. So that means nobody will pay, many more people will go to prison, and the space in prison will not be enough. So I think this they need to review, especially on the fine of 6 million. That is not feasible, is not achievable, and those are some of the errors we make. You come with a good proposal to deal with a problem, but then you go to the extreme in trying to look very serious, and yet in the end, you won't achieve anything. So for me, I would think we appeal to the authorities at NEMA that they review some of the penalties that they are put in the regulations that they are passed, that it is workable, but also that we intensify the sensitization, the campaign. But the fine must be there, both in monetary and imprisonment, but should be something which is realistic, because nobody will pay that. Oh, just give a motorist who is littering the road, throwing things through his window, and you tell him we are taking you to Luzira for 2 or 3 weeks. First of all, you are not going to be at your workplace. Secondly, the level of the inconvenience, wherever you are, just 2 weeks. Let that car person come out. Then wait and see again how much he's going to throw letters along the road through the windows of his car. Or you tell him, okay, you are going to pay a fine of 500,000 shillings or even 1 million. Still hard to get. You have seen this Kawinyamu, how people struggle with the paying 500,000 at police, calling everybody, hello, run here. People bring 200,000, 300, 100 to just collect 100, 500,000 to bail somebody. I think should be, it's a process. We are not doing it at once, boom, and we have solved the problem. But we must be gradually going about this, and also, most importantly, making people understand and put it in themselves that littering now our environment is not good in the first place. Much as it is outlawed, why don't we build a culture of not throwing things around? I think those are the 2 ways we should go. So give somebody 2 weeks, or even extreme case, 4 weeks. That is 1 month in prison because of littering, or 500 to 1 million shillings. It's not simple. But then you only ensure you enforce. Because what is going to be important is enforcement of this. Strictly and seriously enforce. You don't have money, go for 2 to 3 weeks. You have money, you are paying between 500 to 1 million. But you are enforcing across board on everybody. Then you will achieve what we would want to do in protecting our environment.
Now, you also realize the NEMA noted that the failure to conduct an environment and impact assessment, which also includes an environment risk assessment for projects that require such assessments, will attract a fine, which will not exceed 1 billion shillings for individuals. Now, let's get deeper into understanding what NEMA or the NEMA guidelines are, for you to at least get a clear picture of what NEMA did inform Ugandans and what is there at stake for the moment. Penalties and the kind of offense. Now, the new penalties for the environment violators, for example. Now, according to NEMA, failure to conduct environment and social impact assessments or environment risk assessment, there will be a 1 billion shillings. That is for individuals, or 15 years in prison. Then 6 billion shillings for corporate bodies and factories. That will be their penalty to be paid just in case of failure to conduct environment and social impact assessment or environment risk assessment. That is for projects that require such assessments, especially for factories and various projects within society at the end of the day. And in addition, failure to conduct an annual environment audit will attract a penalty of up to 1 billion shillings. So when you look at this, the other offenses around is that failure to carry out an environment audit will have a penalty of 1 billion shillings or jail for 15 years. Then destroying or damage on wetlands will have a penalty of 3 million shillings. Then depositing rubbish in a river, stream, channel or lake, the penalty is 6 million shillings. Then disposing of waste on the roadside will be 6 million shillings in there. So that is something that you should as well know about the penalties that are coming in from there. That is disposing of waste on the roadside. This is one of the reasons as to why car owners have been reminded that it should be wise of them to carry a dustbin or a trash can in for them. So you get to realize that the new measures will be tightened on those importing, exporting and manufacturing plastic carrier bags or plastic products made out of polythene, of polymers of ethane, that is polythene, and propylene that are below 30 microns. Now the other offense here is litter from commercial buildings is 6 million as a penalty. Driving a car without a dustbin or a trash can, 6 million shillings. Manufacturing, importing, selling or using of plastic carrier bags, 100 million shillings. That is a fine going to factories, and those who will be found liable will be fined 100 million. That is for those who are actually manufacturing and importing of what you could call buveras. And then also emitting noise beyond permissible levels, 10 million Ugandan shillings. This one applies more beyond, goes to musicians and the entertainment sector mainly, for those who actually, and bars, I should say, entertainment places, who actually do the sound pollution at the end of the day. I remember for anyone to actually stage a concert in the country, you need to have paid a certain fee to NEMA. That is to at least give you a go-ahead to at least stage a concert or set up, to at least, you know, measure the kind of noise that you will actually, in order to at least, you know, contain the kind of noise that you actually pushing out, because sometimes it's sound pollution and it disorganizes the flow of things. That is why soundproofs are always advisable to entertainment areas within the city. You're watching Smart Means Business, and it's 25 minutes off 8 o'clock. This particularly means that it's only 10 minutes off the opening time of the Zabu markets. So if you want to invest in securities, all you need to do is use the USSD code *292#. Now, if you have no account, register using your national identification number. You will easily be able to kickstart off your investment journey today. The minimum amount of investment is 15,000 Ugandan shillings, and all you need to do is take part in Uganda's investment journey by investing in government bonds, for example. *292#, minimum amount is 15,000. The markets open at 8:15 a.m. and closing time is 3:15 p.m. They will only be fully closed during the weekends and on public holidays, and therefore Zabu is giving you that as an advantage. Zabu, my money, my future. Altec East Africa, do something new. When I do return after the break, I will be bringing you the latest from the world of sports business. Quite a number of updates coming in from there, including a memorandum of understanding between the National Council of Sports and the Uganda Investment Authority. And not only that though, we have details regarding the European Super League, which has actually become another talk in town in Europe lately. And then also details to do with FIFA confirming a record net spend in the January transfer window. That and more is coming up, including the entertainment business with Barija Andrew. So there's a lot to come up in the next 30 minutes leading to 9 o'clock. You're watching Smart Means Business. I'm Jerome Paul Sanko. Mwasuzamtia.